is Prodeus on the Nintendo Switch. This game was provided on a physical disc from the Maryland Library System. Let me check on something. Yep, 1.009. Amazing. This game is a first-person shooter, but it's styled similar to Doom and Quake and old-school shooters from the 1990s. The sprite-based shooters like a Wolfenstein 3D or a Doom. Well, Quake is a polygonal shooter, but it's called a boomer shooter, presumably for people my age but older, because obviously I'm not a boomer. I'm not that old. Don't hate. But I'm a kid who was there when Doom... I was a teenager when Doom launched. So I know the era in which this game was prominent in the mid to late 90s. And I owned a PC that was capable of playing Doom in the mid-90s. It wasn't much. Like, it was like a Pentium 1 at the time. But they made this game for people my age and a bit older who were really into Doom. Your Tim Rogers and your Jeff Gersmans, I suppose. Again, they're way older than I am, but I'm old enough to remember the era in which this kind of game was prominent. Like, I was there when, like, after Street Fighter 2, this drops, and everyone's like, dude, 3D gaming is the future. Obviously, it wasn't polygonal, but it changed people's expectations in terms of how immersive 3D games could be. Prodeus was not one of those games, but it's made from the spirit of those games. I played this game for about 20 minutes prior to recording this video, no commentary. We'll see how it goes. I did recently... we're going to start from the beginning. I did... Medium is default difficulty level. It's fine. I did play Doom 2 on the Xbox One about a week ago. It was available for free on the Microsoft Store, apparently. I downloaded it last week. That is the Xbox 360 port of Doom that I played. But it's compatible with the Xbox One, like a lot of Xbox 360 games. Not all of them, obviously, but some of them are. And that's one of those Xbox 360 digital downloads that was made available for free over the July 4th weekend, apparently. No complaints. It's good. It feels good to finally play a classic first-person shooter with dual-stick controls. I played Metroid Prime Remastered earlier this year. That is a game that is a first-person shooter that needed dual-stick controls, and it got it on the Switch. So, again, proving once again that it's not about... Let's be honest. Interface matters. Human-computer interface matters. And it's not about, learning a new martial art just to play a video game. Because I grew up in the Street Fighter 2 era. I know what it's like to have to, practice some incredibly cumbersome inputs just to play a game on at a competent level. I know what that's about. I still play fighting games on this channel pretty often. But I'm the kind of guy who never got into keyboard and mouse for first-person shooters. Obviously, I play games like Civilization on my PC all the time with a keyboard and mouse, but I'm not into that. I'm not into playing games like this with a keyboard and mouse. Never got into it. Never got comfortable doing it. I play it. My competency drops a whole lot when you force me to play with a keyboard and mouse. It's like forcing me to write left-handed. I can do it, but it's really, really ugly. So that's what we're dealing with when I try to play games like this on a PC, which is why I don't play them with a keyboard and mouse, and I don't play games that require me to play with a keyboard and mouse if they're real-time action games. This game kind of looks ugly, if I'm being honest, but there's another game. It looks okay for that style, but it looks really rough. So you have to have a serious affinity for this kind of aesthetic. I don't. I mean, I like it more like Mortal Kombat, I'll be honest. The original Mortal Kombat in the 1990s. But there were a lot of retro games that came out. There were a lot of 3D... I can say this because I grew up in that era. Most 3D games from the 1990s were ugly as crap. They didn't look good when they came out, but we tolerated it because that's all we had. Doom 2 looks okay. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you had to be there. I was there. I never liked the way those games looked. I was more of a 2D pixel art junkie. I guess I could say that's me being old school, but I grew up in the 80s too, so I was willing to appreciate what had happened in the mid-1990s when 2D pixel art got so good that you were looking at the PlayStation and the Saturn and saying, wow, look what Marvel Superheroes is doing. Look at what Marvel Superheroes is doing, and ask yourself, Why would I want to play a game that looks like Virtua Fighter? And I loved Virtua Fighter too. But I did not want my video games to look that primitive because I grew up in the Atari era. What was I here for? I'm sorry, I got distracted. Just a second. That was my dead zone. I thought I changed these buttons. Auto map with the X button. Use with the A button. That's what I wanted. Okay, I think after I restored the defaults and I screwed myself up. But yeah, for some reason jumping's on the A button, which makes no sense to me. Yeah, the auto map should be on the X button. The auto map should be away from the primary buttons, in my opinion. Like I said, I'm playing this mounted on a Nintendo Switch. I don't like these really bizarre looking. Like I don't like that checkerboard look on the sprites. That's not what Doom looked like. I admire what they're trying to do with it though, but I think one of the other problems with this game is apparently it's a modern game that looks like an old first-person shooter from the 1990s, but it doesn't run like a first-person shooter from the 1990s. Because I was on the subreddit for low-end gaming, and apparently someone complained that, yeah, this game is not going to run on a laptop. Apparently you need like kind of a beefy laptop to run this game. I mean, if the game's engine was built from the ground up to run on a laptop, like, say, Overwatch, yeah, it'll probably run on a $300 laptop. But a game like Doom is supposed to run on, it's supposed to run on a toaster. It's supposed to run... Doom runs on a printer, okay? Doom is the kind of game that should run on everything. You could have, like, a Chromebook, and Doom's supposed to run on that at 35 frames a second, because that's the way Doom was meant to be played. Ow! Well, that's cinematic, right? Yeah, I was supposed to die there. Sorry. Nexus! I do like the pixel art on this dude's fist. I do like that. I'm supposed to punch one of these walls. There you go. Catch these hands. So I took a bunch of hits there, but I guess I'm okay. Well, there's no dash button that's been unlocked. Yeah, I don't think I can survive this. Let's go the other way, shall we? This is a vibe for a lot of people my age. Just so you know. Like, this is their aesthetic. But while you were playing Doom, I was studying the blade. Basically playing Street Fighter 2, so... This could have been my aesthetic, I guess, but I guess I was never really into it. And you can circle strafe pretty easily in this game, so again, dual stick controls, FTW. Again, me playing this on a keyboard and mouse would be really bad. I would feel like that dude who tried to capture footage from Doom 2016. It looked like he was using a laptop and a trackpad to play the game. Like, you could tell by how uncomfortable the movement was. Like, it just felt like they didn't have a real grasp of the controls. So they didn't have an ideal interface for a game like that. Like, if it were me, I'd be playing with a gamepad. But if your boss tells you to go capture some game footage for Doom, and all you have is a trackpad and a keyboard, and you can't find your mouse, then it's like, we need that footage, son. We need that B-roll footage. You need this to go viral today by like noon. Get us something, anything. We want to see the game in action, because what are you gonna do? Were you gonna play the game with a trackpad, a keyboard and a trackpad? You're gonna get that footage. Again, like, I don't pretend to be a speedrunner or some kind of pro-level elite gamer or anything. I'm just like, how does this game play? I'm a normal dude. How does it play? It plays fine. If you can play Borderlands, you can play this, which is more than I can say for Doom. The original Doom. Which is like, how do you, like, a lot of people take for granted the whole idea of, wait, I changed the buttons. Did the game change them back? Hold on. They changed the jump button. Yeah, why did the... Is the game changing the buttons back? Just a second. Give me a moment, give me a moment. You saw me. Like, I actually pressed the buttons to jump in the first stage. No. Alright. That's fine. There's no way to save. B, jump. X for the auto map. Okay. I changed the buttons and it's preserving my configuration. Okay? I didn't download any patches. This is right from the disc. This is right from the cartridge. Version 1009. So let's get this working, alright? See, again, stuff like this, like old school tricks where it doesn't, you see that character model right there? It doesn't move normally. It moves like an old school 90s shooter would. So it's this, although apparently this is a modern game in terms of the visuals. It's a modern game in terms of how they design the models. I think they just put a sprite layer over everything. Like, there is a trick, by the way. I can show you this later. You probably won't be able to see it. Gameplay. Yeah, use models instead of sprites. See? For enemies, though. Yeah, so that's a non-playable character. So we'll play the game. We'll play the game normally, then we'll switch it to the other mode before I stop playing, before I end this video. But I wanted to at least show you that option because I'm curious how this game's going to look with these features turned on or off. If I like this game enough, I'll play it. You know, the model. I'll play it with models instead of sprites on a separate video. But this game seems to run at 60. So there's something good to be said about that. It runs better than Doom does. It runs better than Doom Eternal does. As one would hope. Okay, there's some fit. It's the frame rate's dipping there. You saw that, right? I'm capturing at 60, so you'll probably catch some of that jitteriness. I'm playing this on a laptop, so whatever input latency is happening. Well, let me put it this way. This J5 Create USB-C capturing dongle that I'm using captures with very low input latency. So I can play a game like this without needing an HDMI splitter. Because if I were playing like a serious game, like a hardcore like fighting game maybe, yeah, I'd probably break out the HDMI splitter, play it on a TV, while capturing the footage on this. But this captures at 60, and it seems to be holding up pretty well. Remember, I mounted this on a Switch. I mounted this so I can capture this HDMI footage. So we're fine. That's glass, by the way. See? So you can see how many bullets are in the chamber. On the right side of the screen where it says 66, there's a bar above there. That's how many bullets are in the chamber. So the frame rate isn't holding 60, I'm afraid. But so far it's holding up reasonably well. Hold on. When I saw that. Yeah, that guy. Oh, if you hold down the iron sights, you get a burst fire. That's a nice touch. Darn it! Ah! Jumping in 3D is always fraud, isn't it? I mean, I'm playing Mario 64 as well. I should know how that goes. Let's do it this way. There you go. Need a little bit more height. Old school strategery. Wait, is that not the right way? Yes, not the right way. Okay, screw that. Whoops! Shouldn't have done that. So the game seems fine right now. I guess it runs better than Doom 2 on the 360 did. So that game, I mean, the pacing of that game is pretty good, so props. I did not think I was going to like Doom 2. I thought it was going to be, like, extremely dated and clumsy, like the original Doom. But Doom 2 is a bit of meat on its bones. It turns out to hold up better than I thought it would. I mean, you don't have to aim high or low, and that counts for something, I suppose. And, of course, you have bullets that can penetrate multiple bodies at once, which is always amazing. I'm not going to sit here and say it's a Stone Cold classic, but if you were playing a game that ran that well in 1990, You were eating well. Well, 1995, I think, is when Doom 2 came out. I want to say it's 94, actually. 94, 95, right around there. Like, if you were playing a game that ran that well on a PC, you were eating well. You probably had like a Pentium. You probably had like a Pentium 100 or something. Actually, no. A game that ran as well as Doom 2 does in the 360, you probably had like a Pentium 166. Because I had a Pentium 100 when I was in university, but what was it? This is a nice shotty. How are we on bullets? We got 8 bullets. Oh, I thought I saw someone move. It was just a texture. Again, the look of this game is fine for the vibe. I'm just not a fan of this art style. Like sort of super dark, like bloody underlit. Like not really a fan of that. But I can appreciate what they're trying to do. But if you like, I remember as a kid, I was designing games like this, trying to figure out how to make them work on a Super NES, which was a terrible idea. Of course, I need a red key. It's a Doom clone. It's a boomer shooter. You have to collect a key color to get past. You have to make your progress is gated by keys, and not like boss keys, like in Metroid Prime. Boss keys. I got the auto map. So my buttons didn't change that time. Let me check on something. 3 guns. Of course, my fists have unlimited ammo, so these fists are rated E for everyone. I can use the left stick to... if I hold the left stick up, I can zoom in. Hold the left stick down, I can zoom out. And the right stick is I can just rotate it. This is a nice map. I want to say it's like a Metroid Prime map. And Metroid Prime maps are pretty good. I mean, admittedly, like I'm partial to games like Valkyrie Profile because they were 3D maps, but it was 2D environments. So that's fine. But if you're gonna make a 3D map, yeah, they should look something similar to this, where you can determine height. Because there were games like I played Jet Grind Radio on the Dreamcast, and that map was not good. Because like there would be items you would need to collect that are on. There's no elevation to the maps in Jet Grind Radio, so you would be sitting right on top of an objective. You're like, wait a minute, why is this not working? Well, because it's above you or below you, and the game wouldn't clue you into that reality, unfortunately. I mean, you learn to deal like that was part of the challenge of a game like that. I do own that game on Switch. It's laptop friendly. I made a video for that game. Hey, no fair respawning. Use the D-pad to cycle weapons. Use the D-pad to cycle weapons. So I guess I can't stay in one place for too long. Because that happened in Doom 2. Enemies would respawn right behind you. But I think they were I want to say there was a limited number of them, but some of them would respawn at some point. Like you would kill like 10 of them, then you would go through a door, and then 10 more would respawn like in a room behind you or something. Or maybe a key. Or maybe you would press a button. I got a secret. So maybe you would press a button. Like, in the world, you would press a button to open a door, and that button would open a bunch of doors and then unleash the demons that were behind the doors. Something like that. 1 secret out of 5. I killed 29 out of 107 enemies. I didn't know that was a thing, but here we are. But yeah, this game does look good for the vibe they're going for, so I'll give them credit for that. But I think you have to really be into that 90s, 3D Doom 2 vibe to really like be into it like that. Like I said, I think it's fine, and it certainly runs better than any of those games did. Like, remember when the original Doom came out, it ran at what, 35 frames a second, which I think that was intentional because it was half the frame rate of most fat back cathode ray tube monitors from back in the day, because I think apparently 70 hertz was normal back then. I think my monitor was running at 60 at the time, maybe 65. if you were balling, you had like an 85 hertz monitor back then. Playing a game at 80 hertz seems amazing. Like, I had a CRT monitor about a decade ago when I first started playing, like, PC games for real, like realsies. Like, when I got my video card, I was playing Skyrim and Saints Row 4 at, like, 75 hertz. Which isn't a huge deal, but I had a fatback monitor that I bought, like, in 2001 or something. And I finally got a chance to use it to play some games. I wound up selling it 3 years later. I think it was, 2015 was the year I finally sold that monitor. Because I got a flat screen for like $100 at Best Buy, and it looked way better. And don't fight me on this. I'm not one of those early adopters who bought a monitor, who bought like a flat screen when they were new and shiny. Like, I got my first flat screen in like 2009, I think. Like, it was like a Vizio. I got it for like $130 back in the day. Like, I think the picture quality is okay, but I never really calibrated it. So it looked good, but it didn't look nearly as good as the Samsung that's sitting right next to me right now. That Samsung is a 720p, actually I think it's a 768p monitor. But it takes a 1080p signal. So I think it's downsampling it, so the picture quality looks a bit sharper than it would look otherwise. So it's taking 1080p full HD footage, shrinking the downsampling it down to a 768p screen, so it looks a bit sharper than a normal 1080p screen does. But what matters to me is that it makes the images look really good. Like, I watch movies on that thing all the time. It looks a very good looking TV. Wait, am I going the wrong way? This is the way. I think that's a red key over there. Can I zoom in on that? I don't know if that's a red key or a red door. Why? That's not terribly helpful. Oh, it looks like a key. Yeah, see that key symbol right there on the right side of the screen? Third icon from the right? Yeah, look, I guess that's a red key. I guess that's the red key I need. Maps are helpful. That's right, I can't even go there. Oh. What? What happened? Huh. Okay, maybe we're making progress. I don't know what that fragment was. I know I'm going the right way if I get attacked by mobs, right? Like, bastard! He wants his 12-gauge shotty. Wait! Oh. Video games. Plenty of bullets in the chamber for you. Yeah, don't move from that pedestal. I'll just duck and cover. Like Gears of War. I've never played Gears of War, by the way. I think that's available for download on Xbox right now. I'll double check. I know a bunch of Call of Duty games are. Wait, can I shoot that barrel? It's a boomer shooter. You gotta be able to shoot the barrels. I don't think it did any damage. These guys got melee attacks. You kidding me? You brought Knuckles to a gunfight. Whoops. Maybe don't walk into the explosive barrel, huh? Wait, hold on. Can't go that way. Okay, maybe that's a red door. I see our red lights above that door. Maybe I can't go past it just yet. Just a second. I got a bunch of rockets, but no, I can hold 10 rockets. 380 minigun bullets. They're on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. I don't know what guns I need, though. The other problem with these sprites is that it's kind of hard to make out fine detail at a distance, which again is normal for a boomer shooter. You're not supposed to be able to see enemies like, 50 yards away. All you see is a cluster of blocks sometimes. That is true to the era. I will be the first to admit that. Like, I'm not certain, again, if you ask me, am I an aficionado of fighting games, of 90s first-person shooters, or of sports games, I'm probably going to say fighting games. Even then, I missed a bunch of them. But yeah, like I said, like this was never my vibe. So I'm kind of approaching it from a new angle as an adult because I don't have any nostalgia for games of this type. So if I think a game like Metroid Prime winds up being good, it's because I genuinely was impressed by it. Not because I'm impressed by the vibe of this first person, you know, this dark first person shooter. Like, I prefer the vibe of a Metroid Prime because the visuals are just cleaner. I mean, it's not great. I mean, but the visuals aren't great. Sit. Yeah, don't move from those perches. Yeah, I've always wanted to make games like that. I remember back in the 90s, I always wanted to make a few games like this. But that was me not knowing how to program them, or really how to design the levels. I was just designing the guns. Because my logic was make a game like Perfect Dark or Borderlands. You get like a bunch of different guns, like maybe like a dozen different types of guns. And you were constantly juggling between the different types of guns because enemies would certain mobs and certain enemies would require certain guns. And at the time I was conceiving the levels, they were always based on having a particular kind of gun to get past certain areas. Like the levels were mazes, but there were lots of different like pathways to get through them. Hold on. So my logic was dual wielding assault rifles, dog. Whoops, wrong button. So you can press the ZL button to shoot the left one, and press the R button to shoot the right one. Yeah. Okay, so you can choose which gun you want to shoot, which is always a nice touch. Won't see that in Wolfenstein New Order. So I got 2 runes. Don't know what those are for. Hey guys. Got the explosive barrel. Do need some health though. Got my bullet ammo. This is it. This is the vibe we're talking about. I have some family members who really like Unreal Tournament. I'm curious how they would feel about a game like this. Because I don't think they can play a game like Doom on the Switch. It just doesn't run fast enough. And it might be too hard if I'm being honest. Like, I wouldn't want them to play a game like Doom Eternal. It's too slow. But if they had like a PlayStation 4, they could play it. Shoddy. Auto aim seems to work. I mean, there feels like some auto aim is at work here. I guess I have to be closer. Heads up, and I died. Continue from the Nexus point. How bad is this respawn? I guess this is the Nexus point. Oh, so I guess I hit that blue flame. That's my bonfire, huh? $30 of these. So do they all use the same type of bullets? Possible. Okay, but we're good. 30 in the chamber. Where am I going? I got all turned around. I don't know where I'm going. Give me a second. Key's that way. So I had to go underneath the lava to get to the key, I suppose. So I guess I'll go past the first level and then the video. Yeah, seems fine. The game seems fine. But I'd rather play this or Doom 2. Doom 2 I kind of feel compelled to play because it's so iconic. It's one of those games where it's like, it doesn't matter if you like it or not. You kind of have to play it. It's kind of, yeah, you kind of have to play it just kind of get a feel for it. Like, it's the kind of game where, like, yeah, there's your Nexus point. That's my respawn point. What was that game, Devil Daggers? Like, I tried playing that. That seemed okay, but it was literally just an arena. And it was like and you had to like survive an arena. It seemed to be a whole lot of just one kind of thing, and you had to really be into that one thing the game did. Like, it wasn't much. There wasn't not much to it. But if that was your thing, you could do a lot with that game. Devil Daggers is made for people who wanted that kind of game, which is this kind of game with like no levels to get lost in. I remember, like, I think I have some Painkiller videos on this channel. They don't have a lot of content on them. They're just kind of, they're laptop tests. Because like my cheapest laptops, like my my 10-year-old $200 laptops, every budget laptop could probably run Painkiller, I would argue. If you got like a, maybe not a Chromebook, if you got like a Windows 10 laptop from like 2015, no, from a Windows 8 laptop will run Painkiller. So you're pretty much okay. Those Linus Tech Tip laptops that cost like $150, they'll run. Unlike Doom, you can't play directly from the map, which is always fun. Try playing Doom directly because that map screen is in real time. Get out of here with that. I'm out of bullets. All right, so I need more bullets. Did no one drop any bullets? Yeah, did no one drop any bullets? Yeah, dude, no one dropped any bullets. Did I get any bullets when I respawned? Probably not. I got 10 bullets, hooray. Got some shotgun bullets. So unlike Last of Us, you constantly get bullets from enemies that you kill. You can kill enemies with your fists and still get guns and bullets from them. So I have too many bullets. I have too many shotties. Oh well. How we doing? I thought I'd been here already. Key is that way. I guess I went the wrong way. Alright, so I guess we're gonna get a new Nexus point. Again, I don't know how this game is gonna compress. Like, I tend to like the way 2D games compress because, you know, the visuals tend to only move, you know, on very specific vectors. Like, when you're playing an old school game, most of the screen is static, and you're only moving a little bit to the left, or a little bit to the right, or a little bit up and down, but there's very little activity on screen. So those videos, you can crush those videos. You can capture them at 60 frames a second, like an old arcade game, like Pac-Man. That game probably fits on a floppy disk. I could make a 1-hour video, and it would probably fit on like. I could make a 5-hour video of Pac-Man. I could make a 5-hour Pac-Man video in like 720p at 60 frames a second. It'll fit on a CD. Like the compression technology has gotten really good for videos these days. So I appreciate that. Where's the map? I think I want to go the other way. The key is the other way. So we're going this way? Oh, there it is. Am I going the right way? Uh-oh. I guess this is the way. I have very few bullets, so I gotta make them work. I was hoping to be a bit more knockback on the shotgun. What are you gonna do? Hope you like shotguns. This game's got shotguns. Yeah, give me those bullets. Can't grab that yet. I think the key is over there. Give me that. Nope, we can go this way. Okay, I guess I thought that was... Uh-oh, that can't be good. Give me that Nexus point. Alright, we got it. Come get me. Okay, it's Horde mode again. Not dead yet. I get a few more bullets at least? Okay, so we got a few more bullets. Yeah, don't move from your perch. Got the health flask. Did I get him? Got him. Give me those bullets. Got a few more bullets in the chamber this time. Give me that. I got another shotty. Got another shotgun. Another fragment. Did I miss something? These levels are pretty complex, but that's probably what you would want in a boomer shooter. You want to have some sense of adventure, you know what I mean? Isn't that what Mr. Biscuit was saying about the whole, like, Shadow Warrior gives you, like, a reason to explore? The original Shadow Warrior back in the 90s, like Duke Nukem in those games. They gave you a reason to explore, you know, they gave you lots of wide open areas, lots of different ways to approach the level. Like, they weren't like, I think he was comparing them to modern military shooters, which he obviously didn't like because they were basically like corridors where you could die if you strayed too far from the very narrow navigational area where you were allowed to explore. Like, I think the joke was that he was playing like a modern military shooter, and if you strayed, like, if you literally walked off a curb, like you're on a sidewalk, if you walked off the curb, fail state. And that criticism needed to be made in the early 2010, because it was getting kind of ridiculous, obviously. Like, I complained about Last of Us, and that game was made based on the old AAA corridor content. The whole corridor content provider, the School of Game Design, where your job was to simply the game was curated to stick people into very narrow areas and then force them to go into specific choke points, survive those choke points, and then advance to the next waypoint, basically. You were advancing through narrow corridors from choke point to choke point, which is what a lot of video games were doing in the late 2000s, in the late 2000s, you know, the early PS3 era, to the mid 2010s. They're still doing it now in AAA games. God of War does a lot of that in the first 2 or 3 hours. It's like, at some point, it's easier to test. Arguably, it's easier to design and test a video game that does not deviate from a narrow path. Can I open this? Yeah, give me that. Sit. How's the frame rate holding up? Again, I don't like all these I don't like all these noisy sprites. Like I said, it's just a lot of like, not glitter. What would you call it? It's just a very noisy. Image. Like, it doesn't look clean. It looks like really sort of. It looks extremely blocky. People used to call these graphics blocky, but this is the aesthetic a lot of those old games were doing, because that's how you made 3D graphics back then. You used sprites. Oh, so you hold down ZL, and that charges up this meter. And it uses only one bullet, but it's a big hit. So it charges up the bullets, I guess. Hold on. So I guess that works. Is that the red key? I think I got the red key. Yeah, I got the red key. It's in the bottom left-hand corner of the screen. That little red playing card I got. So I beat the level? I did. I killed 96% of the dudes. I found 2 of the 5. I found 1 of the 5 secrets. I could probably do the harder difficulty level, but I would need to be able. I would have to manage my bullets better than I did. But that was the default difficulty. So we'll end the game. We'll end the video here, but I want to do some quick testing on a couple of things. I'm not going to replay through the level. What I'll do is, since we got our saved game right here, I guess, I'll switch to the models and see how the models look instead of, like, the pixels. I could replay the level. I do want to see how the models look. Navigate there's a world map. Now, this is very interesting. So is this like Mario 3? It's like Mario 3, you have an overhead map. Options. We'll use the models instead of sprites just for funsies. And if the thunderstorms are coming through here, I'm going to have to turn this off and get my power strip up. But I'm not going to try and capture footage during a thunderstorm because it might get cut off. which happened during one of my other videos. I was playing. I think I was playing like, yeah, I was playing Doom 2, I think, and a power surge hit my room, and I had to stop recording. Which might be appropriate for a game like that. So we aren't going to save this part, but I just want to end the video with a little bit of test footage. The game seems to be running pretty well. If this were a demo, this would be all I would need to see, but it seems fine. I think the demo should be like, you know, the map, then then like a couple of levels, just kind of get a feel for the game. But yeah, like this looks like a perfectly competent boomer shooter. Large levels, decent performance. If you're into this, the buttons got switched again. Freaking Lord! Just a second. They swapped the buttons. So is it as soon as I start the level, the buttons get changed back to their defaults? B, X. Let's see how the game looks with models instead of sprites. That was the whole point of this particular part. It's under gameplay. Yeah, models instead of sprites. I can't put the minimal on. I can't put the minimal HUD on. I know it sounds uncouth to say, but I don't see the difference. Yeah, okay, so yeah, now they look like Quake models, okay. They move like Quake models. They animate like Quake models. Yeah, these guys look like Quake models. So maybe they're easier to see at a distance, I don't know, but that's whatever sprite layer they got going on here does not look good. Again, it just makes the images look really blocky, like a distracting way. Like you can't see fine detail from a distance. I mean, I don't think this is a game about headshots or anything, so maybe that's fine. Like Doom was not a game about headshots, was it? Like it was about just kind of pointing your reticle at a mob and blowing it up, basically. You didn't have to do headshots and bunny hopping like in Quake or whatever. Which is a big deal for a lot of people, but you know. Speaking of bunny hopping, Super Bunny Hop did a video about AI bots and about how they disappeared from first-person shooters. And he's like, what was the great thing about Quake? You can just play against AI opponents if you wanted. I mean, that's how I played Perfect Dark. I could never play GoldenEye 64. I could never play GoldenEye 64 with AI opponents. Does this game run better with the 3D models instead of the sprites? Which is an interesting way of doing things. I mean, frankly, the models look a little bit better than the sprites, but that ain't saying much. That button was a trap. And apparently the only characters who are models are the enemies. Yeah, these guys. See, they move like... So you can't look down the reticles with the dual-wielding assault rifles, because there's no zoom function. I mean, that fully loaded charge shot? Oh. I guess it's on a cooldown. Okay. Hey! Oh, wait, someone's behind me, bastard. Again, I just think this is too noisy. I appreciate the look, but it's just too noisy. Like, it's an example of all the spectacle of, like, the blood spurts and the... It's an example where there's blood spurts and the sprites. Like, the blood spurts and the pixel layer, like, just makes everything look blocky and you can't make out fine detail. All the blood spurts make enemies harder to see like, there's a lot of, like, blood spurts that make enemies harder to see when you shoot them. Like, an enemy might be hiding behind them. Like, yeah, like an enemy might be hiding behind another enemy, but you can't really see him because the blood spurts in the way. Like, it's... Like I said, like, visual feedback. Like, the interface is fine, but it's the whole idea about visual feedback, where can the player... Like, some people are fine with all that noise. Like, filtering out the noise is what they do as gamers. But it's like, for me, having all of that, having all those blood spurts just contributes to the idea that this game is just about the vibe and not about the gameplay. Like, Metroid Prime doesn't need blood spurts and headshots or any of that. Or, you know, noisy, gritty, blocky pixel art to make an immersive world. But this game is, again, bringing back that aesthetic that some people like. But I just think it's too hard to parse. There's a lot of activity. Yeah, like, this guy kind of blends into the background a little bit, so it's hard to see, which I guess if you're colorblind, it probably is no different than the other game. But it's like, instead of making stuff easy to see at a glance, it's about chasing a vibe. It's about chasing an aesthetic. That was, I would argue, like, too difficult to parse. It's like if you wanted to chase a Michael Bay aesthetic in a movie, it would look visually dynamic, but it would be hard to comprehend in busy scenes. And I never really liked that. So apart from the fact that I just think it looks ugly most of the time, it runs well. Like, this is a decent representation of those old school boomer shooters in terms of their aesthetic, but I think the images are just too noisy. Like, we're not talking about riots of color. We're talking about riots of, you know, blocks, riots of pixels. It's just hard to make out fine detail. You can't really appreciate the blood spurts because they're too blocky. And there's other pixels behind it, and it's kind of hard to see all that detail. So again, that's normal for games of this era, but it's hard to make out in the crowd, you know, one target or another. Which, again, might be fine for the aesthetic, but it's an example of how old school game design and visual design can hold you back if you're a person who needs to be able to comprehend what's happening on screen in a pinch. Like, in a blink of an eye, a lot's happening in this game. And it's kind of hard to make it out if the image is so busy and so blocky. It just adds a bunch of interference to what you're trying to make out. You can get around it, don't get me wrong. Most people, I think, will be able to deal with it. But there are a lot of people who are going to bounce off of this game because they're not going to be able to play at a high level because it's too hard to make out what's going on. I would say Doom is a lot less noisy than this. So there's something to be said for simplicity and elegance in art design, because it makes it easier to appreciate what the engineers pulled off. If you can see what's in front of you, and you can see it in motion, you can make out fine detail, you can appreciate how the game moves. But again, because we grew up in that era where sprite scaling was a big deal, it's like, you know, Afterburner and Outrun in the arcade, you know, games like that, Super Hang-On. That spectacle was part of the experience, and it looks incredibly... I'll be honest, from a subjective standpoint, I still kind of appreciate that aesthetic, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it looks better than a 2D game that's not trying to emulate that style. I would much rather play a game that looks like Axelay or Thunder Force 3 than a game that looks like this. Even though I appreciate a lot of what they're trying to do. And again, this is not my aesthetic, but I appreciate what they're trying to do. And if someone made a game that looked like this, I would say kind of clean it up, make it look a little, like, have a switch that makes it look more like, I don't know. Well, I don't want to make it look like Doom 64, I guess. I don't know. Like, activate a switch so that it looks less pixelated. But again, that's the vibe they're going for. So I don't want to be that guy who tells people don't make video games the way you want to make them for your people. Like, you have to give people an option to play video games that look a bit more visually coherent. But that's just me. This is Prodeus on the Nintendo Switch, playing on a physical cartridge. Video number 1. The audio was captured with my Skull Candy earbuds plugged into an audio splitter into the J5 Create USB-C capture device. Quad-core Windows 10 laptop using the camera application, the Windows 10 camera application, to capture the footage at 60 frames a second at 720p. And you probably wouldn't want to see this game. You would not want to see this game blown up on a 4K screen. I would never understand the point of that. But we'll talk more about that later, I suppose. I prefer the way Metroid Prime Remastered looks, frankly. Because, again, it's more visually parsable. It's not a boomer shooter, obviously, but the gameplay is there. It's just not about throwing people into a room and having them shoot at, like, 10 people at a time or anything. At least not in the first couple of hours, anyway. Yes, I have other first-person shooters on this channel. Hopefully Doom 2 will be on this channel sooner rather than later. I got Forsaken on the Forsaken 64, Forsaken on the PS1, which is a very good case study in itself in terms of how you can make a first-person shooter that controls well on the console. Because compare the PS1 version to the N64 version, you'll see what I'm talking about. I know I got Perfect Dark and Gold. I got Perfect Dark on this channel. I got Time Splitters 2 and 3. I got Time Splitters Perfect. Time Splitters Perfect. Time Splitters Perfect Dark. Future Perfect. Time Splitters 3 on this channel as well. A bunch of first-person shooters. Obviously, got a bunch of Borderlands content. That gives you some idea about what I'm dealing with. But I'll throw up some more. Painkiller should be on this channel as well, and my low-spec, laptop-friendly gaming playlist. But I'll throw in some more 1990s shooters, some more 20th century first-person shooters on this channel, hopefully sooner rather than later.